Hey nerdy knitter, Tanya here. It's the end of another month and that means another monthly knitting roundup. So grab a drink and you're knitting and let's settle in for a good chat. We have a lot of knitting to talk about, a lot of finished projects, quite a few things on my needles, but of course before that we've got to talk about a knitting book, the sponsor for the video, and like new pattern releases and announcements. We do have a new pattern out. This is for a sock tutorial just released last week. Another number 6 in our cuff to toe series. Now we've done 6 of each now, from cuff to toe and then toe to cuff. So 12 sock tutorials all together with lots of different heel and toe combinations and some stripes in there. And this one has lace on the instep. So this one, I like shorty socks. I just prefer to wear them, but of course socks are customizable. You can take a shorty sock pattern and just keep knitting the leg. That's no big deal. So this one features just a 1x1 rib, lace on the instep. The heel is a wrap and turn short row heel, but it has a mini gusset right here because I don't really a lot of the times, well, my instep is high, so short row heels can feel really tight across that part of my foot. So a little mini gusset right there, adding a few extra stitches can just help loosen that area up a little bit. Now, if your short row heels always fit you just fine, you probably don't need to add that, but it's a nice little technique that you can, once you learn it, you can just put in wherever you like. If you like to knit short row heel socks, I really like them when I want to do like a contrast heel, but I don't love the way they fit. Sometimes they're just a bit tight. So one of the ways to fix that is to just do like a few gusset stitches. So that's something you learn in this pattern. And the toe shaping is anatomical toe shaping. So there is a specific right and left toe. You can see one side has like a very a long slant right there, and then it's just sort of rounded quickly up here. So, and then the other one is like the opposite of that. It slants in this direction. So if you've never done anatomical toe shaping, then that's covered for the right and the left foot in the pattern. I've done it before. I did a pair of socks for my husband and I've done a few for myself. The only issue is like when you're grabbing a pair of socks in the morning, I have to remember which one has that toe shaping because you have to stop and look at your socks to make sure you get them on the right foot, which can be annoying, I think. Especially because I only have it on a few pairs, so I have to remember which pairs have the toe shaping. So, but it's another of those techniques to like just try out and see if you prefer. Now, our book this month is Knitting for Olive, and this is a really thick, nice thick book. Lots of lovely patterns in here. If you've ever used their yarn or if you've seen their patterns, they have like what I would say like classic design. The aesthetic is very like sort of classic design. A lot of holding yarns, double, you know, like the stranding a mohair with another yarn. There's a lot of that, but just a lot of patterns. I don't even know how many, 20 it says here, 20 patterns. So it's a full-on pattern book. Like it's not like a technique book or anything like that. This is for the patterns. And I've sat down the other day and I flipped through it and it's just lovely to look at too, just looking at the sweaters in here. And I found, I think I wrote down four patterns in here that I really liked or I was just intrigued by and I wanted to learn more about. Like this one, let me see if I can find it. Yes, this one, the Chrysler top. I just really like the way that it looks just like a twisted rib. I haven't read the pattern, but just twisted rib, but I like the way they've shaped the neckline and the bust and up to like the straps. I'm not one to wear like just a strappy kind of tank top. I like wider sleeves, but I just really like the classic look of this and the way that they have decreased along the bust points. You know, I just think that looks really lovely. And this was another favorite of mine, the puff tee. I just think the sleeves on this are just very, very cute. And this one, it looks like it's also, you're holding that mohair with it. I don't know, I feel like I had a sweater like this when I was really young, but I don't remember, like in a pink or something. Just looks like something I wore in the early 80s. I don't know, but I really love the look of the sleeves on this. So a lot of these patterns, not all of them, there's some drop shoulder patterns. There's a lot of top down sort of raglan style patterns. And then this one, like the puff tee, where it's kind of a raglan, but they've done like the shaping is different along the shoulder line. So I want to like spend some time looking at the way those are written, because I'm always interested to see how like sweaters are constructed in different ways that you can construct them beyond like the basic, you know, set and sleeve or raglan, just to see how you can better fit a sweater to your body. And I like learning about all these different construction methods. So I'm going to sit down and look at that one. But it is a lovely book if you like really classic patterns. If you like top-down sweaters, then you would probably want to check this one out, especially if you like doing that, like stranding a mohair with another yarn. So last thing before we get to all of the knitting is the monthly sponsor, and this month it is Knit Picks. They are sponsoring the giveaway that we'll be doing at the end of the video, but I just wanted to pop in here because I use them a lot, and I love, they have got such a nice range of yarns, and from very inexpensive to more luxury type yarns, but still fairly affordable, I think, for what you get there. And I buy from them a lot, and I just bought some more actually. I usually get like some in the winter. I put it on my Christmas list, so I get a lot that'll last me most of the year. But then in the summer, they also have like a big summer sale, and that's usually when I like to buy like maybe some yarn for a couple projects that that are new that I've decided I want to cast on since like my big order at Christmas time. So I'll have a link for them down below. I'm not sure what different sales. They've got different things going on all through the months of June and July with different sales every week. So I'll put a link to the site and you can go see what sales they have going on right now. Now it's time to see where I am in my knitting progress. And when I sit down to record this, when I'm all done and I still have all my projects like sort of sitting out, I record like a quick recap of like the current state of all my projects and what I would like to accomplish over like that coming month. So I recorded a little bit at the end of last month, so I'm going to put that right here and we'll get a little idea of what I've been working on, and then we can see what I've actually finished and accomplished over the past month. Okay, so here's my pile of projects. It's the end of the month and I'm about to start another month, so let's see what I want to get done. First of all is this scarf. So like before, another 50 rows. It's getting really long. So I'll move that's to mark the last 50 rows from the chart, which is 100 rows of knitting. So I can move that up. So we're ready to start the next 50 rows. So that's all set. So this crochet blanket, there is the frame for it. And then there's the inside part. So I need to get those sewn together and then the edging finished. So that's all that's left for this. So I think I can get all of that done this month as well. And then the Musselburgh hat, I would like to finish with the first color and start the next one. So that's like about 70 rounds of knitting. I think last time I checked this before I had to rip it out, I think I had about 70 rounds for the length that I wanted. So total. So I've already done some from that point right there. So let's get finished with that first color, and then I want to get started on that second color. And then this is the Cherry Berry Wrap. I'm working on color number 4, and there's 6 colors altogether. So I think my plan is to finish this. I'd like to get this finished by the end of the month as well. And then the last thing I need to work on is this cardigan here. This is a new design that'll be coming out in the fall winter issue of Cast On magazine. So this has got to be done by the end of the month and in the mail. So this one is a definite have to finish. And you can see that's all I've got done so far. I've got to knit and do the whole thing and get the pattern written and get that sent off. So this is what I have planned for the upcoming month. I also have some new projects I'm thinking about, but of course we'll get to those in a minute. So first up is finished objects, and I should put here that I didn't have them there, but is that pair of socks for that tutorial. That was something I cast on and I did this month specifically for that video tutorial. Should have put it in my list. I have a list of like what I finished and I forgot to include that, but we already talked about them. The yarn for those though is Biscotte Yarns, their smooth sock. I think it's an 8515 Superwash yarn, and I love this really light blue color. I think it was, is it called Beck, I think was the name of this color. But she's got lots of lovely yarns and her smooth sock is a really nice one. But the first project off my needles, and still needs to be blocked and the ends woven in, but I'm still counting it as finished, and I'll probably get to that this afternoon or sometime this week. But my Cherry Berry Wrap from Ambah O'Brien. So this one you start right here in the center with a provisional cast on. I can see where I cast on actually, because my tension right there, like that line where that provisional cast on is done right in the center. Then you knit a little bit flat and then you put those, well, the provisional stitches were on like a second cord, so you just start knitting in the round and you increase at the sides, kind of like a raglan sweater. There's an increase line here, and then this spine, or actually like a top-down triangle shawl, and one right there, and it gives you like this, it builds out in that direction, and the same on the other side. So it's kind of a rectangular shawl shape, but it's got like 2 triangles stuck on the end, so whatever shape that is, I don't know. But it's knit from the center out, so you're always knitting in the round, and just a lot of just plain knitting, and then there's some eyelets when you switch between each of the colors, and then you like move on to your next color. So for the yarn, it's Knit Picks yarn. Let me check, what was it? Capretta Superwash, which is a blend of 80-10-10, so Superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. And I got the bear yarn and I dyed the yarn myself. I got a whole bunch of bear yarn because I had a couple of shawls I wanted to knit, and I thought it would be fun to do some yarn dyeing for myself. So for this one, I just put some red dye, just jacquard acid dye, in a big pot. And I had 3 skeins, 100-gram skeins. I divided them in half, so I had 6 50-gram skeins, and I put one in the pot and I waited I don't know, a couple minutes, I can't remember now. Then I put the second one in, waited a couple minutes, put the third, and I kept doing that. So of course the one that was in there the longest picked up the most color. And then, you know, by the time the last skein went in, there was less color in the dye bath. So it sort of like created a gradient just by staggering how the time between putting each skein in. So I was really pleased with the way it came out. The few at the edge were really hard to tell apart, like the colors. Probably should have waited an extra minute between those two. It was really hard to tell which one was the 2 darkest, but the other ones it wasn't so bad. But really, I mean, relaxing knit, because it's just knitting. Once you get past that provisional cast on, that part, because I switched, and I should have left it on 2 needles until I had like a lot, because you need to have like enough length to make it worth it to go. There's a lot of stitches, but when you get to these sides, it was really hard going around right there when you have so few stitches on a circular needle. Like I was really shoving them around trying to move them. I should have waited until I had more before I transferred them. But other than that, it's a really fun knit. I liked the idea of knitting from the center out like that. And I mean, it was just a lot of knitting, and then the eyelets in there and some little garter stitch ridges. So some purling on those rounds. But once you get past the provisional cast on and all of that, like fairly simple, very, very simple knitting. But I'm very pleased with how it came out. I think it'll look nice with my blue winter coat. So that is finished, and I still have I have to block it still so I can stretch it out. And I have lots of ends to weave in, of course, but I got some different sewing up needles, some different types that I haven't tried before. So I'm going to do a video where I like just demonstrate all of these different needle types to see how they are to knit. That'll be coming up in a few weeks. I'm probably I'll use this shawl to do that, because then, I mean, it's all the same yarn, the same project, but lots of ends, so I can test out the different needles to see how they work. So this one is a new design. This is the Brockway Cardigan. This is for the Knitting Guild Association. It'll be coming out in their next issue of the online digital magazine, Cast On. This uses Universal Yarns Wool Pop, which is a blend of bamboo and superwash wool, and I think some nylon in there as well. Really nice yarn to use. I love their bamboo pop, which is like 50-50 cotton bamboo. It's really like drapey and nice, and definitely one you want to use. Like if you're going to knit a sweater, do like a garment that has seams or something, because like plant fibers are heavier and the yarn is very, very, very drapey, but it's great. It's perfect for shawls, and it's perfect for like summer. I don't know, when it's like super, super hot, I don't really wear even my summer hand knits. But sort of like that in between summer. Like right now it's really nice weather, so I will wear them, but when it gets like super sticky hot, I don't really wear them. But I think it's a DK Sport or DK weight. Anyway, and I think Wool Pop is the same, it's a DK weight. but it's really nice, the blend of the superwash and the bamboo. The bamboo gives it like a little bit of a shine, and also because we have like a plant fiber and an animal fiber, they take dyes differently. So it's almost like a barber pole effect. Like you can see like the different, or almost heathered, like the way the dyes have taken differently with the two different fibers. So it's really nice yarn to use. It's got that, it's still got a lot of drape because it's superwash plus bamboo. Really nice to knit with though. I really liked it. So I'm looking forward to seeing this pattern come out. So it's just a sleeveless like tunic cardigan. Like it's got mistake stitch rib along the bottom. You start at the bottom hem and you cast on like everything, the both fronts and the back all in one piece, and you're knitting flat. And then before the underarm, there's a bit of like some armhole shaping to sort of like move them out a little bit and add a little bit of length. So you get sort of like a cap sleeve, but it like maybe more like a dolman sleeve because it's sort of off. It's a drop shoulder anyway. So I just wanted to extend it out. And then you divide like the fronts and the back, and you have to do them all separately. And there's a bit of mistake stitch rib incorporated right as you're knitting along the armhole edges. So there's no finishing. Well, there's a lot of finishing at the end because like the front bands are continued in that mistake stitch rib. But when you bind off, you do some short row shaping for the shoulders, and then you bind those off, but that front band isn't bound off. Instead, like you continue knitting that until the two sides are long enough to meet at the back neck. And then 3 needle bind off together, 3 needle bind off across like the back neck stitches with those stitches. So it was a really, I liked the way this, I'd done this construction with another cardigan, the Oknaha cardigan, and I really loved that method, and I loved the way it fit me. So I thought it would be fun to like use that method in my own design. So I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of knitting. And I had and of course there's deadlines with this, and I was knitting it. I'm like, oh, why did I pick a tunic length? You know, because it's bad enough like a sweater length. You got to knit a whole sweater really fast, but I had to add extra inches to make it longer. But I think it came out nice in the end. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one published. And my crochet project is finished. You can see it right here. This is what I wanted. I wanted a nice pretty blanket to have right here, or I can put on my lap when I'm sitting here and watching TV. I had a rainy day the other day, so I've been watching through the Lord of the Rings. I got the extended editions, and I've been watching them with the commentary. My husband just rolls his eyes, but I love those movies, so I'll watch like half of one with like one of the different commentaries, and it's just nice to hear the background stuff. But yeah, so it's nice to sit here and have like a lovely colorful blanket that is just right there if I get a little chilly, and I have to keep it up because the dog likes to sleep here too, and I don't want her on my new blanket. But that is all finished. Happy to have it off the needles, and I'm deciding what I want to do for my next crochet project. It's probably going to be another blanket, and maybe another, I was thinking something with scrap yarn because I've knit 2 blankets now, and I have a lot of leftovers from both of those. So I'd like to do, I'm looking at another Janie Crow pattern where it's like a quilt with different sized blocks, and I thought instead of doing like the color palettes she has, I could just combine all my scraps and do more like a scrappy kind of quilt. And it has charts in the pattern. I haven't done any crochet following charts before, so that would be something new to learn. So I'm still thinking about it, but anyway, this one is done. It uses Knit Picks Brava Sport, which is an acrylic yarn, and something I like for things like blankets, especially decorative ones like this. So I'm very happy to have it done though, and moving on to a new blanket project. One more almost finished project, but I wanted to show it this time because it'll be hopefully in the mail before like July's podcast. But it's all done and blocked, and it's been shoved in a bag, so I probably should block it again. And the ends have to be sewn together. But other than that, it is finished. So it's a colorwork cowl using 2 skeins of sock yarn. So this is for Biscotte Yarns. It uses their Bis-Sock yarn, which is an 85-15 Superwash Merino blend. And let me see, the colors are, there's like this peachy background color, I think it's Peachesse. I'm not sure how to say that one. And then the other one is their Metamorph. It's a gradient yarn. This color hasn't been released yet. This is going to be an upcoming color. So I like combining a gradient yarn with a solid, because then the gradient does like all of that color changing work for you. So just knit, it's just a tube. And then when it's all done, you know, the ends will be sewn up, and nice comfy cowl to wear around your neck. just counting. I think I have 6 things on my needles right now. That seems like a good number. It gives me some variety. I'm trying to pull this scarf out. I have it rolled up because it's getting really long. I'll have a little video clip here of it laid out so you can see how it's looking. I just moved my marker. I like to move the marker when it's, as I finish, like my goal is like 50 rows a month of 100 rows on each chart, and there's 5 charts. So I just finished chart number 3. So if you're calculating, I still have 2 charts to go, and that's going to be another 4 months of knitting. Double knitting takes some time. But I'm making good progress. I just moved my marker up. It was about, let me see, about that much knitting from here, more or less, to here. And I did make a mistake right in the middle. I'll hold it up and see if you can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, I can. Right here, there's like, that should be open like the ones on that side. I'm not going to go back and fix it. I did hold it up and for my daughter because it's for her. And to ask her, can you see the mistake? And she pointed it out right away. But she doesn't care either. She's like, nobody's going to see that when you're wearing it. But it's just kind of bad because it is like this is the center of the scarf, and that's where my most obvious mistake is. But oh well. The knitting is going well. My edge stitches are looking better all the time when I compare. I have to do a picture. When it's all done, I'll take a picture of like the edge stitches at the beginning and the edge stitches at the end, and we'll see after like 6 months, or actually no, closer to a year. I started this just after Christmas. The time it's done, yeah. So in all of that time, knitting 50 rows of the chart, which is 100 rows of knitting every month, my double knitting skills aren't faster, but it just looks better. So I'm hoping it's not going to be like so drastically different from one end to the other that it's just going to look weird. But I know my edge stitches look a lot better than they did in the beginning. You just start to improve the more you knit a certain technique or whatever. But I'm very happy with the progress. It was just easy to get those 50 rows a month done. I wouldn't want to add more than that, but it's nice to, usually it's like either my morning coffee knitting or my lunchtime knitting when I take my lunch break or my breakfast break. Then this is what I will grab, and I'll do a couple rows every day during the week. And that is usually enough to keep me on track and get my 50 rows in. So it's coming right along. This uses Knit Picks Comfy Sport, which is a blend of Pima cotton and acrylic. It's really nice, soft yarn, machine washable, which is something my daughter prefers. She does not like having to do all of the careful things with the hand knits. But it's a scarf, so I'm sure, besides when I wash it when I'm done, how often it's gonna get washed anyway. But it's a nice yarn, and it would be a really good yarn for summer garments too. It's really soft, and cotton is nice in the summer, I think. My next project is a Musselburgh hat. I got some yarn from Hypnotic Yarns, and let me see. There are these 2 right here, and I thought they went really well together. And when I first started this hat, I should have just followed the pattern, but as I was doing the crown shaping, I'm like, it looked so small to me, so I just kept increasing. And then I started knitting in the round after I thought it was enough. And then I had knit 70 rounds is what I decided to go from there, and then long enough to go down to my ears and then fold it up pretty much the halfway point. And then I started with the second color. And as I'm knitting the second color, I'm looking at it thinking, this is really big. And that's when I finally looked at it and measured it and realized how massive it was. Way too big. It's going to be way too big for my head. And I have a big head. So I decided to rip back to the increases. And then by then I'm like, it's just this part of the hat. I'm like, just rip it all out and start over. It was just easier to do that. So this is the second attempt at the hat. And this time, trust the pattern. But I did take my gauge measurements from my other, what I had knit already, so I could decide what instructions or how many increases to work. And it looks, yeah, the hat size looks a lot better this time. Not so big. But I haven't made a ton of progress. I'm about 40 rounds in, so I still have about 30 more to go, and then I can switch to the other color. But the yarn is Plush Sock from Hypnotic Yarns. It's an 85-15 Superwash merino and nylon. The colors are Wildflower and Amethyst Shadow. So really nice yarn. I like the color combination. I like them together. I like there's some of that purpley color in this one, so I think that they work really well together. But it's just plain knitting. There's nothing really to say about the pattern. It's very, it's a good pattern. Nothing against the pattern. It's just a lot of just plain knitting in the round, which I don't choose to do a lot. Like when I want to grab my knitting, I want something to think about when I'm knitting. Except when I'm like on like a meeting on my computer, or if I'm editing videos, I grab this. And when I'm sitting to edit this video, I will probably be working on this, because at that point, yeah, my hands can be busy while I'm doing something else. And I think also between like editing some videos, and I'm probably going to take this with me on our trip. We've got like a 9-hour drive one way, and then the same when we come home. And on trips, I like the mindless kind of knitting. So my plan is to, if it's not done by then, which I don't think it will be, the middle of July, we're going to visit family. So I'm going to take this with me. I'm going to take this, and I think I might take like a small crochet project. I found like I think I want to do like some sort of like granny square scrap blanket with like, I've got lots of like leftover sock yarn. So maybe, and because that's small and portable, I can do like little granny squares with that. But this hat definitely, because it'll be very mindless knitting. So that's probably, so the plan hopefully is by the next episode to have this hat finished, but I'm going to take it on my trip, and that's probably when I'll be working on it the most. So I have a new cast on, a new top-down raglan cardigan. I teach like a group coaching program where I talk about how to take top-down yokes and raglans and how to make them fit your body. Like if you have, how to make adjustments like for a full bust or larger arms, or changing the length of the sleeve or the body, things like that. And we've covered like the top-down raglan sweaters and top-down yoke sweaters, so I thought it would be nice to have like a little bonus section on cardigans as well. So I was looking for like a cardigan that I could knit up quickly and then use for some demonstrations. And I'll probably do some demonstrations on this channel too, like picking up button bands and adjusting sleeve length and stuff like that. So I chose the Felix cardigan because it's knit in like a bulky yarn. So I'm like, that's going to knit up really fast. And I've got the raglan part done already. My plan this week is to put this on like some waste yarn and try it on to see like how much more. I think the raglan shaping is done. I just have to see like the length of the armhole to make sure that's correct. Probably give it a quick wash too, because I like to wash it at different points. My gauge didn't change much, hardly at all, on my swatch before and after blocking, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. So the yarn for this is Wonderfluff, yes, from Knit Picks. So this is a blown yarn. I didn't check the yardage, but I don't have the label here. But usually when you have like a yarn like this, it's a tube. It's like a nylon tube. And then the fibers, in this case, baby alpaca and merino, are sort of blown into the tube. So it's super, super lightweight yarn. So generally when you see a blown yarn like this, you're going to get more yardage per skein. Because, I mean, you buy a 100-gram skein of yarn. 100 grams of a blown yarn is a lot more yardage than compared to like a 3-ply really high twist yarn. You're going to get less yardage in that because it's going to weigh, well, I mean, 100 grams is going to weigh the same either way. But when you take like a strand of each of those yarns, that highly twisted plied yarn is going to weigh more than like a blown yarn, which is really very, very lightweight and fluffy. So, and it's knitting up quickly. It's a bulky weight yarn, and the color, I love me some bright colors sometimes. I wear a lot of blue, so I thought let's just do something, you know, bright. I've got a couple sweaters. I just got yarn for another sweater. That's gonna wait. I haven't even cast on that. I bought that with during this Knit Picks, their summer sale. I just got some yarn, but that one's gonna wait. I'm not thinking about that until this one's finished at least. But so Wonderfluff is a really great yarn. It's very soft. It's got that fuzziness to it. I don't love mohair. A lot of the time I find it a little itchy, but if a pattern calls for that and I want the fuzzy effect, I will often look for baby alpaca because I think it's softer and I don't get that itchy feel that I get, or the scratchy feel that I get sometimes from mohair. But very pleased with how, and this came knit up really, really fast. Like the whole top is done. There's some short row shaping for the back neck to raise that a little bit. And then there's a bit of like a lace detail along the raglan lines. Just some little eyelets. I mean, that's it, just yarn overs. And those are used to create your raglan shaping as well. So very, very pretty. I just have to try it on and see. I think I've got to probably knit a couple, maybe an inch more or so to get like the depth that I need, because it's a bulky yarn. So you want to make sure, you want to be more on the more positive ease side with a bulky yarn. And I'm breaking my rule with my next project. I like to have, I have lots of projects going at once, but generally it's one of, like I already have a hat that I'm knitting and now I have a second hat. So I'm breaking that rule because I usually just, you know, when I finish one hat, I can start another hat. When I finish one sweater, I can start another sweater. The only time I break that usually is like if one is sort of work, if I'm designing something, like something else that I'll be showing later on, then that's different than like a sweater I'm knitting for myself. But nope, in this case, I am knitting two hats. I cast on a second hat. So this is from the Yarnable subscription, the May 2024 Berry Citrus Bliss. It looks a little blown out here, but it's yellows and orange and hot pink and just very, very fun color combination. And it's variegated yarn. So I was thinking, what am I going to do with variegated yarn? We've done a lot of videos on how they knit up. I don't love the way they knit when you just knit stockinette and you get like the pooling and flashing and stuff. Not a fan of that. So I'm thinking, okay, well, it's one skein. I can save it and maybe use it with something else, like stripes or something. And then I saw this ebook by Woolly Wormhead, her Get Garter ebook. Now it's about using garter stitch sideways with short rows to knit a variety of hats. And then in the description, it talked about how like she walks through also like the process of designing using that method. And if you know me at all, you know that when I see different construction methods, I'm very curious and I want to see how that's done. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this ebook. And then I saw the beret and I loved it. I'm like, I love a beret. I'm not a huge fan of beanies for my head. They always like squash my hair flat and make me look, I don't know, I don't like the way they look. But I like a beret because it's like a more full hat. I don't know how to describe that, but I think I prefer the way a beret looks on my head, basically. So I'm like, well, I've got this skein of variegated yarn, and now I've got this ebook because I wanted to learn about this construction method, so let's combine the two. So this is the hat in progress. It does not look like a hat, I know. So you start right here where this provisional cast on, this waist yarn is, right there, and you're knitting sideways. So there, this is the brim of the hat right here. And the top part is done using short rows. So this is like one section right here, just this part. So you've got the brim and then you're knitting back and forth, making shorter and shorter rows. And that gets you sort of like, I don't know if it's going to show up very well on the camera. It gets you these curves that create the top of the hat. So I'm on my, almost finished my third section. There's 6 sections altogether. So halfway through, and it's just garter stitch. So that's 2 of the things I like with variegated yarns is using texture like garter stitch and also short rows, because the short rows change the locations of some of the colors, so you're less likely to get pooling and stuff. I still have some on here, but I don't mind it. I think it actually looks pretty interesting. So it's going to be a nice bright hat for fall. So I should have it, I think my plan is to have this finished by the end of the month. And it's not hard knitting. I mean, it's just knitting, just garter stitch, German short rows, and like there's some increasing, decreasing to do the shape, but that is it. It's not particularly difficult. You just have to pay attention to like where your short rows are and stuff. But I think it's really interesting the way it's coming out. And the ebook is a good read. Like she explains things really well and walks you through like the process of everything and everything you need to know to actually knit all of the hats. Like it's a pattern book is what it is. There's more than the one hat in there. There's different, all knit sideways with short rows, like an envelope style hat and a beanie and a slouch hat, lots of different hats, but all using garter stitch. and this short row method where it's knit. I think all short rows. I didn't read every pattern, but it's like knit this way instead of, you know, like knitting from the crown to the top, or the crown to the cuff, or the cuff to the crown. You know, you're going in that direction instead. So very interesting. Good way to use your variegated yarns because you've got short rows and garter stitch, and pretty sure you can get each of the hat patterns separately, like if you just liked one particular pattern. But of course I wanted all the extra information about like designing with this method, so I just bought the whole ebook. And then of course later on, if I want to knit any of the other hats, and I've got the patterns. And with my Yarnable subscription and all these variegated yarns that I don't generally buy myself, like when I'm just buying yarn, well, I usually have projects in mind when I buy yarn, but that's why I like this subscription, because it sort of gets me out of my comfort zone, because I don't buy a lot of variegated yarns. So when I get one, I have to think about how I'm going to use it to best highlight, you know, those fun colors. And I don't know, I think I like my yarn subscription just for that, to make me get out of my comfort zone and try different things that I might not have tried, because I don't usually just buy yarn to buy yarn. Even if I think it's pretty, I always buy yarn when I have a project in mind. Occasionally like a skein of sock yarn, because I know at some point I'll knit a pair of socks. But yeah, so I really like having that subscription box, because it helps me like expand my skills as well, like learning how to do these sideways knit hats, which is very, very interesting. And I started a new shawl. This one has been in sort of like on my to-do list for a long time, but I just never got around to it. And I finally did, again, because of my yarn subscription. I'm like, I've got this single skein, I can either save it until I've got like another skein I can match it with, and then I'm like, let's just look for a one skein project. And this yarn is Life is Short, Eat the Donut. So it's sort of like just a creamy color, and then it's got little speckles in it, like funfetti or something like that. So sock yarn 8515, Superwash nylon blend, and a lot of cord. I probably could put this on a shorter cord, but this shawl, this is my tricky project right now. It's a lot going on, and my cable needle, which I need for this one, because there are cables in here. Let's see if they will show up on there. But they are not simple cables. I don't know if you can see, oh, probably my mistakes too. I have to refer to the pattern every time I see a cable crossing, except for like the most basic ones, because there are knit stitches traveling over purl stitches, like 2 stitches over 1 or 2 stitches over 2, and then your normal 2 over 2 knitting all of them. And then there's like increasing a whole bunch of stitches, like from 1 to 5 stitches. And then there's some elongated ones, like this one right here, because it has to like sort of stretch sideways. I don't know if it's going to show up. There we go. Like that one is an elongated stitch. There's a lot. Like I have to keep referring back to the abbreviations list, because I can't keep them all straight in my head. And then there is like this part of the shawl is pretty simple. Just some yarn overs, very simple on that. And then you've got the edging down here, which, you know, you bind off stitches to create this little edge. So I have not done much. This is like a whole day's worth of knitting. But I like it. Like it looks really cool. I like the yarn for this. There's enough like with the speckles to make it a little, besides just like a plain bare yarn, you know, like I like the color. It's just sort of that creamy color, a little bit of speckles in there, but it was the right choice for something where I really want to see that cable. Really enjoying it when I have sort of the brain power to want to sit and read every row. And usually I follow charts, but for this I have found the written instructions easier. I don't know why. But I have to keep moving from one page to another. I might just print out the cable abbreviations and their instructions, because I have to keep, I'm on my phone usually with Knit Companion highlighted on the row I'm on. Then I have to go to another page to refer back to the abbreviations every time I get to a cable, and there's cables on right side and wrong side rows. So it's a lot. So now that I'm talking about it, I think I will. I'm going to print out the abbreviations page and then keep that in the bag so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth on my phone. I can keep it on like the written, like the actual instructions for that row. And I've messed up a couple times. Like I'll suddenly have an extra stitch or something, and that's happened a couple times. I don't know what I've done. So I just usually do an SSK or knit two together to get rid of it. I'm not going to like tink back to try to figure it out, because once you do some of these weird cables, like you don't want to try to pull it out. But I think it looks nice. I don't see my mistakes when I'm looking at it, but it's definitely not easy knitting, but that's okay. I've got a lot of easy knitting right now. It's a lot of just garter stitch and stockinette stitch. So not during the week, but on the weekends when I want to sit and knit, you know, and watch TV maybe. Or this is where actually I pay more attention to this than what I'm watching on TV. But that's when I watch like Lord of the Rings with the commentary, and I've already seen the movie a million times, but it's just something sort of background noise while I'm paying attention. So worth looking at if you want a challenge. This is a challenge for me. I like cables, but there's a lot here that I have to stop and look at. And yeah, but beautiful cables. I love like the cable. It's just should explain the pattern itself. So that's going to be a shawl when it's done. This is like the point of the shawl. So this edging is going to keep growing in like a big crescent shape. And then you pick up stitches. There's some on hold here. I'm assuming we're going to be using those. Picking up stitches along this edge and then working in this direction in garter stitch with short rows to like make the crescent shawl shape and give it a little more depth, a little more, make it a little more deep from like the neckline to the bottom of the shawl. So you're working sideways from this direction to that direction with the border, and then coming back in and filling it in. And there's two sizes. I only have the one skein, so I'm hopeful it will be enough to do like the small shawlette size. But there's also another one in there where it's got like this part is done the same, I think, but then the rest, like there's a bigger portion of garter stitch for the body of the shawl. So this is more of a small accent. With the size I'm doing the small, this is like really like the major part of the shawl, and then just a little bit of garter stitch to add some depth to the body. But definitely one to check out if you like a challenge. So the last thing on my needles is a new design. I just steamed it. I wanted to check my gauge to make sure, you know, you would hate to knit like the whole back of a sweater and realize that it's not the right size. Like I'm knitting like a specific size for the sample, so you want to make sure it's the right size. So I just gave it a quick steam, and I'm just going to let it sit for a while and shake it out just to check. But this is like, will be the back panel. So it's just an all over lace. I got a mosquito in my house. All over lace tank top. So like normal above hip length, you know, like 3 inches below your waist, knit straight to the underarm and then binding off some stitches. So sort of a wide strap, not like a little spaghetti strap so some of the lace will be continued up there, and then like a scoop, sorry about that, a scoop neck for the front, and then, you know, higher in the back. So, but all over lace, the whole thing's going to be lace. There is a bit of reverse stockinette down here for the hem. I really like reverse stockinette for a hem when you want something really simple. It just rolls to the other side. And the cast on I used, because when I did my swatch, I used like long tail cast on, but by the time you like stretch open the lace, the bottom was still like sort of scrunched in. So I'm like, okay, I need a stretchier cast on than that. So I used a lace cast on, which is very stretchy, which is basically the cable cast on with yarn overs. Like you put your slip knot on, but for the first stitch, like you hold that in place and you bring the yarn like a yarn over the left needle, but from the back to the front. And then you go in between that yarn over and the slip knot like you would for a cable cast on a stitch that way. And then your next stitch is another yarn over, back to front, and then cable cast on between the yarn over and the other stitch. So you're getting 2 stitches. You do a yarn over, that counts as a stitch, and then you use that cable cast on, and it's very, very stretchy. Not particularly nice to look at. It creates like sort of a little chain. Let's see if that will show up. Like a little bit of a chain along the edge, but I like it here because it's going to roll in and nobody's going to see it anyway. And it's super, super stretchy. So it works really well for something where you've got lace and you want to really stretch it open. So I've got a little bit done. So far my gauge looks just fine, and I think fabric wise it looks really nice. It could even be open, more open, but for a shirt, I mean, you want to wear it, probably still wear something underneath it, because I mean it is lace and you can see through it. But so this is for Biscotte Yarns. They'll be releasing the pattern. It's using their super sock yarn. So this is 75/25 merino nylon. And the color is called Clair de Lune. Really lovely color. They gave me a few like options for colors, and I was like, oh, this one looks like something nice and summery, you know? So I think this will be really pretty. I can't imagine, probably this pattern won't come out till next year, but just an all over lace tank top, basically, with this just pretty classic lace, little bit of reverse stocking at the bottom. And for the edgings along the armhole and the neckline, I'm planning just to sort of pick up stitches and then bind them off right away. So there's nothing, you won't notice anything. It's just to like neaten up the edges a little bit so you don't get any like wonky lace edges like you do right here. And this, I'm knitting it in pieces and they'll be seamed up. Because it's a superwash yarn, I like to use seams. And I mean, it's very small seam at the shoulder, of course, since it's just a little strap, but that can help the garment keep its shape when you've got something like a superwash. But this one is not, it doesn't feel like like some superwashes feel like super drapey and slick, but this one's not exactly woolly, but I've felt some that have been more drapey and slippery. This one is not. You still get a lovely, like that's a really nice moving fabric. So I'm pleased with that, but it still has a little bit of grip to it. Like it depends on how they are super washed, I guess. Like some, like they get them so slick and slippery, and others, I don't know what the method is, but it doesn't feel as slick. But I have been using plant fibers lately, and those are all very smooth, so maybe I'm just feeling that difference. I don't know. But I just cast this on a couple days ago, so I think I should be finishing this fairly soon, and it'll probably be in the mail before the next podcast, so I'll try to remember to get a picture of it when it's done. I got 2 new project bags this month. I really need to stop looking at Etsy. I need to stay away because I keep finding things on there. So this one is from WoolNFrog. I got one from them before. I wanted to get one with a zipper. I usually buy drawstring bags, and I wanted to compare them with zippered bags. I have a couple with zippers, and I don't love them because I feel like my yarn gets caught a lot, but they're usually the kind where you lay them, I don't know, it's like a pouch, so you lay it flat, and then I keep getting the yarn caught in it. But I wanted to try one that stands up to see if that made a difference. And so I really like the little sheep on there, and it's got like pink zipper, very, very cute. Nicely finished like the other one. This is my second WoolNFrog bag. I think she's in Alberta. I can't remember, but I will have a link for her down below. But and handles, I'm discovering I really like these handles as well, so I can just grab my knitting project and run with it. Not really run, but go somewhere with it. So it's a good size for like a 1 or 2 skein project, and very cute bag. So which one do you prefer? Do you like drawstring bags or do you like zipper bags? I feel like that's going to have to be a community post, a poll to see what everybody likes. I was just curious to try them both to see which I prefer. I think I still prefer my drawstring bags, but zippers are nice too. So this is the other bag I got, which with more sheep. This one is, well, color wise, it's more muted, just gray and black and white, or cream, I suppose. Pockets on the inside of this one. This is from somebody here in Quebec, FaitMainParMartine. So I'll have a link to her Etsy shop as well. Another one that's nicely finished. It's got like 3 pockets inside. Cute little drawstring bag. Perfect for like, I wanted some smaller bags because I have, well, a couple like 1 or 2 skein projects. Or sometimes when you're starting a larger project, but you don't need it in a big bag right away, you want something smaller. So it was nice to grab a few, you know, like they each have like 1 skein of yarn in them, but it could definitely fit a couple skeins in this one too. So yeah, but you know, a small shawl or something like that, or just 1 skein knits, really good size. So zipper or drawstring, which do you like in your project bags? That's last thing to show is my Yarnable subscription, which I haven't even decided what to do with this one yet. I have so many other things going on. So the theme for June is I'm a succa, S-U-C-C-A for you. So you can probably see what's going to happen here. Succulents, cacti, things like that. There is a little straw topper. Very, very cute little thing. My daughter's probably going to steal this one. And then this thing, I looked at that and I'm like, what in the world is this? This is, it looks like a little soda can, but it is like wet wipes. It looks so cute, but where we're traveling in July, this is going in the car. I always need, like, your hands get sticky, or, you know, you grab a burger at a drive-thru or something and you just need something to wipe your hands on. So definitely going to be traveling with us this summer, and I thought it was so cute, the little can. And then the last thing is a little lip balm. I haven't even opened this up yet, but I'm always using lip balms. But summer citrus, I'm not sure. Oh, it's all taped. I'm not going to open it up yet, but I like the little cactus theme. So very, very cute theme here. And of course the yarn. So let's see what color we get this time. Here is the color. Really lovely shades of green and that pop of hot pink in there. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to knit with this one. So the colorway is called I'm a Succa for You. Plush sock, 8515 Superwash Merino. So, I really like the colors. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this one. But I like getting these variegated yarns that I have to think about, like, how am I going to use this one? Or maybe I'll save it until I can pair it with something else. I don't know. I've got some hot pink sock yarn. I think it's a little too different from that pink though. Or maybe a different color altogether. Open to suggestions for this one. I really like the colors. I think it's just because I'm so used to buying yarn when I have a pattern. Like, I find the pattern, I want to knit that thing, so then I'm going to buy some yarn. So when I have the yarn first, it's like, what am I going to do with you? I have to think about it. But this one, I have so many other like one skein projects right now. This one is probably just going to go on the shelf. And maybe another hat. I've got that garter, the Get Garter book from Woolly Wormhead. Maybe I'll do another hat. Because hats are generally one skein of yarn. So, but anyway, I might just hang it up and admire it for now because it's very pretty. That's all the knitting for this episode. I just got some yarn from Knit Picks for 2 more sweaters, but that's going to wait. I'm not even going to look at that. I just put it in a bag and put it away until I finish some of these other things, but we'll talk about that next month. The last thing to talk about is our giveaway for the month. This month, our giveaway is sponsored by Knit Picks. They are giving away a $50 gift card. They kindly offered that to you, or to me, to give to you. But anyway, so to enter the giveaway, leave a comment telling me if you won $50 or had $50 to splurge on Knit Picks, what would you order with that money? Now they ship to the US, to Canada, the UK, and Australia. So if you live in one of those countries, you are good to go. If you don't live in one of those countries, those are the only places they will ship to. So you have to be able to, of course, like have it shipped where they can ship it. So the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. So the fine print for the giveaway, YouTube is not sponsoring this in any way. This is just me hosting, and Knit Picks is providing the gift card. And to enter, you're going to leave a comment telling me how you would spend $50 on Knit Picks if you had $50 to spend. And next Tuesday, July 2nd, I will use a random comment generator to choose one of those comments. Then I will leave you a comment on your comment telling you won. And then you have 48 hours to send me an email with your name and your email address. I don't need a mailing address this time, and then I will forward your name and your email address to my contact at Knit Picks, and they will make sure that your gift card is sent out to you. And I realize it is a holiday weekend in the States, but I can't like let this keep going forever. And July 2nd, it's before the 4th of July, so hopefully, keep an eye on your emails and turn on your notifications. So if you get a reply to your comment, you know that I've responded to you. Multiple times I have left replies and people don't get back to me, and I have to choose somebody else. So I give you 48 hours. That's plenty of time, I think, 2 days to check your email and just send me a quick email back with your name, your full name, and your email address, and I can forward that on. So if you want to enter that giveaway, then just leave a comment telling me about how you would spend $50 on knit picks. And we will choose a winner next week. So that's it for this episode of the podcast. And I will meet you back here at the end of July with even more knitting. Of course, we're going to have videos between now and then. Nothing in August though. I'm going to take August off, a little bit of a break to do lots of knitting and just hang out with my family. But that's it for this episode. So if you're new here and you want to catch up on past episodes, I'll put a playlist of this season of the podcast. And if you've been around for a while, I'll just let YouTube recommend a video and you can click right there and I'll see you in the next video.